Election is next Saturday, and we have in the studio the Deputy Leader of the Conservative Party, and of course he'll be speaking with our very own Gladys, and we say morena.
Oh, whakalofa atu.
Morena to Gladys.
Morena and whakalofa to Petelo. It's good to be here with you so bright and early.
Thank you so much, guys, for coming in, and of course the election is happening next Saturday.
Excellent.
It is. The countdown has begun, and here on Radio 531 PI and Pacific Breakfast, we've been talking politics for about the last few weeks, and like you said, Petelo, as the countdown begins, we've had the privilege of talking to various political leaders, their party candidates, Pacific candidates to be more precise, and also finding out more about their policies. And so this morning, like you said, we're very fortunate to have with us the Deputy Leader of the Conservative Party, Elliot Ikilei. Elliot, whakalofa atu. Great to have you here this morning. Why politics?
So, I come from a background where I've worked heavily with youth who've had suicidal ideation, self-harm, who have had issues with incest, who've been physically, sexually and emotionally abused. And it's been about 8-9 years ago I realised that actually those of us who are in the field are actually losing overall. We're not winning. We're actually finding that youth are getting harsher and harder. They are starting to now lack empathy. They're starting to not care about some of the harm and viciousness that goes on. And our families are becoming more and more deconstructed. So as much as we win a few battles here and there, we lose overall. And then I realised that the issues that we face mostly come from Wellington. The laws that have been put into place through Wellington have actually harmed and hurt our people and our families, not actually other things. And so the way in which to help and save most families and save most rangatahi or youth is actually in Parliament, in the youth section of that.
So for you, Conservative Party? Tell us about it.
So
Why?
Conservative Party, well, first and foremost, I always believe that you have to face up to some of the challenges and the problems and the dramas that we face. And first and foremost, unfortunately, Labour has actually hurt our families by policy over the last 30 years. That is a factual matter that they have a pattern. Ever since Labour released dawn raids, it's actually hurt and harmed our people. The Conservatives believe strongly in family. First and foremost, we believe in the family structure. Everything that we do is based around having mum and dad together and looking after kids and making sure we support that with the supporting pillars of justice on one side and democracy on the other. It is a vital thing for us. So family is how we push everything. And especially here in Manurewa where I work, and is also the electorate that I run for. This is such a vital thing here. And the Conservatives are the number one party who stand for family. No other family stands as far as we do. And that is also why I am here, because this is actually the electorate that is one of, if not the most anti-family and anti-Pacifica value electorate in the entire country, based on policies that have been released and policies that have been supported by here.
So, Elliot, in terms of policies for the Conservative Party, what are some of your key policies going into this election?
First and foremost, again, family is everything. So we would actually have counselling for couples who wish to engage in couple counselling. We don't sponsor that. We sponsor other types of counselling, but for some reason we don't sponsor couples counselling. We would also teach relationships. Instead of having this odd form of sex education in schools, we would look at actually relationship training. So instead of looking at condoms and oral measures, we would actually look at, right, you're a male, these are some of the traits of a male, this is how you communicate. You're a female, this is some of the traits of how a female may communicate. This is how you can have conflict resolution. This is how you can discuss, this is how you can respect each other, this is how you can have differences within each other. So we would actually have that. We would also put in the idea of the 20 hours free ECE. We would actually say, well, hang on, if a parent wants to look after their child, hang on, let's give that money or give that tax rebate back to the families, so that if they want to raise their child up in the way that they want to, let them. We would also look at changing the laws around anti-smacking, and of course one of our big ones is citizens binding referendum. We are the only party which says if a citizens initiated referendum takes place, it is binding. We're the only party who says that the government cannot touch it no matter what they want. And that is actually a really big thing, because the last 5 citizens-initiated referendum have been absolutely ignored by the government. Absolutely ignored.
And for you, Elliot, like you said, you're on the ground out there working in the community. What are some of the issues that constituents have been talking to you about? I know you've talked about family, the issues about, and what is a very sensitive subject with our Pacific people, sex and sex education. So what are the other issues that they're talking to you about?
Suicide is the big one at the moment, and suicide has been big for years. In actual fact, Pacifica youth are actually more at risk than Māori. Pacifica youth are actually the most at-risk group for suicide out of everyone, and it's a terrible, terrible thing. And what we've seen there is actually it's got to do with the family breakdown that we've seen in Pacifica families. Māori families have had breakdown for a lot longer, and they're in a way they're tragically used to it by now. But now our Pacifica families are actually breaking down at a lot faster rate. That, in its sense, has some very scary areas where the young person's growing up, they're seeing their family break down, they're not sure what to do, it's quavering, and they lose a lot of the resilience and a lot of the ability to process trauma that does exist within that. And then they unfortunately and sadly, I've had to bury a few kids over the years, and it always comes back to family, to the home, to the protection. We also have a bit of a family, a fatherless generation starting to occur. We already knew that it was happening in some areas of New Zealand. Unfortunately, over the last 10 years, it's starting to become more prevalent in Pacifica communities, where the father or the male has been doing something, and then I will say it, he's cowardly run off. He's not taking care of what he should take care of, and so we are now starting to see the ramifications from that. I mean, we've got a child intervention process where something like nearly 6,000 kids are actually in the care of SIFs or MIVCOP, whatever they call it now, and they still refuse. The government still refuses to look at the problem as a family to fix issue, and they keep on concentrating on the child only. But that doesn't work for our kids, because our kids are always part of a family. They come from somewhere. So to have this thing where you just fix the child, and then what do? Well, you let them back out on the street, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work because we've seen it not work.
Elliot, as far as the Conservative Party and what you stand for, what's been the reception to your policies?
Actually, really good. South Auckland side. So we had the first Manirewa debate we had in Manirewa High, attended by hundreds of kids. Mm-hmm. They voted before and after the debate. And before the debate, I came so low, I came undecided and other. So that was good. After the debate, however, I got second by far, and I only came second to the current Labour person. We had another debate yesterday in Manirewa Marae. They voted again. I came first. The ideas of family, which are not PC around most of New Zealand, are actually finding a good home in South Auckland, and so it should. Our people love family. We came from family. Example, the Conservative Party, we stand for, we do not like abortion, and we do not like euthanasia. 2 things that Labour is all good for. They are happy to push that. We do not like that. Why? Because it's not life. The Conservative Party value life at every single stage. And I can say that, especially since even my mum's going through a journey at the moment. And that's something which we need to journey through, which many of our people need to journey through. But no, we love life, we push life. And in South Auckland, especially Southside, actually those values actually still hold true.
Would it be fair to say that some of the ideals of Conservative could be seen as controversial? And how do you plan to tackle that going into the election? There's been a lot of, it's interesting, there's been a lot of pushback, and I've done quite a few debates in the Auckland University. And as example, when I stood up and said, I was sitting beside Jacinda, I think, and when I stood up and said, no, I believe that life deserves a chance to live, I got booed quite heavily by the Auckland University, because they don't really like pro-life views. I am absolutely pro-life in the same way that I am also Christian. All good. But I am diametrically opposed
to the current style of what Labour stands for, which is actually against the idea of life having a chance on one end and also state-sponsored suicide. Again, we do not stand for that. How do I approach it? I just say it. One of the things that people know about me who do know me is that I'm very straight up and that I don't really muck around. And look, 15 years of working with some of the most pain-filled youth, actually you lose a lot of patience for waffle. So I go straight to it, and I do get a lot of pushback, but I don't care. The voices of our Pacifica people are worth it. The suicidal ideation is worth it. The elders who are going to experience elder abuse if state-sponsored suicide comes in are worth it. Someone needs to step in front of into that gap, so to speak.
You've talked about, in terms of Labour, with all other political parties, currently we've got the national-led government, New Zealand First, United Future. So would you have an issue working with any of them if you made it past that 5% threshold?
This question's actually come up. We would have no problem working with the Greens or Labour if they changed about 80% of their policies. We would have no problem dealing with anyone as long as there's some alignment. I have a bit of an issue with Labour, if you haven't picked it up by now. And my issue is this. My family, we are Niuean. We came and we had the days of Michael Jackson Savage, and they were great. But the current Labour does not support Pacifica. Not only that, it has laws and policies that have worked against our people, not for it. National guilty for not really caring, but at least they're sort of honest about it. Labour, however, say that they're our friend, but they don't. Decriminalisation of prostitution, their support for the abortion laws where a child can be sent off to the abortion clinic and brought back and the parents have no right to know. The free trade agreements, neoliberalism. Neoliberalism was brought in by Labour. So there are so many laws and policies that they have brought out that have hurt our people, yet our people still keep going back. And the relationship between Labour and Pacifica reminds me of what I've seen in an abuser and an abused girlfriend keeping on going back after being beaten up. I work for a charter school, and the charter school that I work for is over 90% Pacifica and Māori. The majority of our kids are Pacifica. Michael Jones Pacifica Advanced Senior School is mostly Pacifica. Vanguard is over 50% Māori. These are charter schools. Labour want them abolished. And they want them abolished, and that will actually mean that our families will have to leave and the more affluent families are going to have to come in. That is not right, and that does not support our people.
So going into this election, Conservative Party, how many candidates have you got standing up and down the country?
I think we've got about 15, 16.
You've got about 15. And your leader, excuse me, I should have asked you this.
Oh, that's all right. He's an awesome guy. His name is Leighton Baker. He's 30 years in the building industry. In fact, he did some of my signboards. There was one signboard over Manireo Marae, and I was like freaking out. I was thinking, it's going to fall down. He's come along, knocked it up, and that billboard has gone through the whole storms that we've had recently, and no problem. Leighton Baker is a man who is a grandfather. He's got some wonderful principles, and he's strong. He's a strong moral fibre guy, and he's exactly the sort of guy that we need as well.
You're the only Pacifica candidate standing for Conservative?
I am, and I'm also the one who has been able to change some of our policies due to the Pacifica influence, which is actually the other thing that annoys me as well, because Labour has so many Pacifica candidates, yet they don't really support us. So how does that work? So I think it's a big thing. And one of my teammates, Nick Tuatasi, actually also assisted us with some of our policies as well. So yes.
So we're drawing to the end of this time, and it's encouraging to hear that you're out there, you're standing up for what you believe in your rights. But September 23rd, we're going to get our people out there to vote. Petelo and I, Petelo's been getting that message out. People have to vote. So what would you like to say to all those who are eligible to vote? Why should they vote for you?
If you want to vote, if you value family, the actual vote is for me. Why is it for me? It's not because of anything that I've done or because I'm a good guy. It's simply because of our policies are family friendly and they are Pacifica friendly. The votes that we have already support Pacifica values. And in actual fact, there's only a couple of other parties that support Pacifica values, and I'm sorry, Labour is not it. If you want to value family and if you want to make sure that we protect family, vote for Conservative, because we are the ones who have been on the front line, and we are the ones who see family on a day-to-day basis.
Elliot, we thank you for your time. All the very best with your campaign.
Thank you.
Petelo, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Elliot. Thank you so much, Gladys, and all the best for today and for the campaign coming up next week. And all the best.
Thank you.